Hi, this is Carolyn Nee Lachlan, your hostess with the mostest of From Paper to People podcast, and you're listening to Pop Goes Your World.
If you haven't already, subscribe on iTunes. And while you're there, please leave us a rating and review.
And now it's time for our feature presentation.
I'm Chris McBrien, and the pop culture from Generation X is everything to me.
And I'm Derek Myers, and I'm here to educate Chris on the great pop culture of today's generation.
Episode 221, 1986 Pop Culture Fantasy Draft. I'm Chris McBrien, along with Derek Myers. This is Pop Goes Your World, the pop culture podcast for the generations. We're back with another pop culture fantasy draft this week. Now, Derek and I will each be drafting a team of 3 movies, 3 TV shows, 3 songs, and 1 personal pick, all from the year 1986 this time out. But before we get started with our draft, Derek, what pop culture have you been able to get yourself into this past week, my friend?
Hey, Chris, I got just a couple. Unfortunately, no documentaries, but I have a really good doc on my PVR that I'll have queued up for the next time we do a show. I had a chance to watch a couple of movies. So the first thing I watched was a slightly older movie from 1994, based loosely on the old television series. It's called Maverick, starring Mel Gibson, Jodie Foster, James Garner. It's directed by Richard Donner, who did the Lethal Weapon films. And
Superman
what I just
2.
learned, among other great ones. And what I just learned this week when I rewatched it, it was written by the very great writer William Goldman, who wrote Butch Cassidy, the Sundance Kid, All the President's Men, and The Princess Bride. I had no idea he wrote this movie, which is probably part of the reason I enjoy it so much. I mean, there's a lot to like about this movie. I hadn't seen it in probably 10 years, but it's great. It was a lot of fun. And because it's sort of set in that Wild Wild West period, you don't really have to worry about like, oh, does it hold up? Well, it does, because it's set when it's set. It's not like it was set in the 80s and it's like, oh, it feels outdated and stuff. It was really good. I really enjoyed it. If you haven't seen it, or you haven't seen it in a long time, it's worth going back. I totally forgot that Alfred Molina is the bad guy. No, I really enjoyed it. It was a lot of fun. Have you seen this movie?
I have not, but I know Alfred Molina. He was in Spider-Man 2. He was Doc Ock, and of course, he was in one of my favorite movies of all time, Raiders of the Lost Ark. He was Satipo.
Yeah. No, it was a lot. It's a really good movie. If you can find it, it was on one of the cable channels, movies from the 90s, and I recorded it. It was really good. I was very glad that I had a chance to revisit that this week. Then, as many of our listeners probably aware, the new season of Stranger Things dropped on Netflix in the last week. And I was like, oh, well, I better start watching this. So my wife has already binged the entire season, and she's like, you got to watch this quickly because the internet is going to ruin stuff for you. And I'm like, yeah, I know. So last night, after she went to bed, I thought, okay, I'm going to start season 1 or episode 1 of season 4 of Stranger Things. I sit down, I fire up Netflix, and you know Netflix, it's really good for saying like, hey, here's something new that you might like. And so before I can even select Stranger Things, it's like, here's something you might like, the new Jackass movie. And I was like, I better watch the first 20 minutes or so of this Jackass, because I've been hearing some great things. I ended up watching.
It's like, here's a shiny toy. Look over here.
Yes.
Oh, look.
Yeah. So
chase it down.
So here I am, 11 o'clock at night. I was planning to watch Stranger Things, and instead I start watching Jackass, going, I'll just watch 20 minutes. I'll get a few of the sketches under my belt, and I'll come back to it tomorrow if it's decent. I end up watching the entire movie. It's Jackass 4.5 is what it's called. It's the new release. And if you enjoy the Jackass, if you enjoy this franchise, if this is a property that you have liked over the years, you will love this movie. It is everything you want from Jackass. It was so funny. My wife the next morning said, like, what were you watching last night? I could hear like all this yelling and screaming. I'm like, that was me laughing. And she's like, oh,
Stranger Things wasn't that funny. What's going on?
Yeah. She's like, what were you watching? I was like, I was watching Jackass, and like, I could literally hear her eyes roll. And she's like, oh my God. And I'm trying to describe some of the skits to her, and she's just like shaking her head going,
that's dumb.
Why is that funny? Yeah. And I can't even finish explaining it. I'm laughing so hard just retelling her about these things, and I'm laughing now thinking about it, just how dumb they are. But oh my God. so funny. Now there was a lot of sketches in their thing that were like just gross out things where they all puked, which that I'm not interested in. But anything where someone gets hit in the nards, solid gold, man. And there's a lot of solid gold in this movie. It was great. I loved it. But so Jackass 4.5. If you just want to turn your brain off and laugh at people getting hurt in a controlled way, hilarious. So I haven't had a chance to start Stranger Things yet. I'm going to do that after record tonight. But that just, shiny toy took my attention away.
Nice.
And that's on Netflix. And then this past week, Disney Plus has brought us back to the world of Star Wars with the new ongoing series on Disney Plus called Obi-Wan Kenobi. Chris, have you had a chance to watch this?
Yeah, I heard of it. I've only, and of the other ones, I watched a little bit of The Mandalorian. No, I watched the whole first season of The Mandalorian. And then I watched a couple episodes of the Book of Boba Fett. But I haven't had a chance to get back to watch those. So I don't know when I'm going to get around to Obi-Wan Kenobi, if ever. We'll see.
So I'm not going to spoil it for anyone who hasn't seen it. They dropped the first 2 episodes last week just as like a, hey, here it is. Honestly, Chris, I think this is the best Star Wars they've put out since the original trilogy. It was super strong. It made perfect sense for the canon of Star Wars that we know. They really hit all the right notes, and they've got Ewan McGregor back playing Obi-Wan Kenobi. And it takes place 10 years out. Again, this isn't a spoiler. This is right in the first 2 seconds they go. This takes place 10 years after the events of the prequel trilogy. And at the start of the Obi-Wan Kenobi, it says, click here for a summary of what's happened before. And I'm like, this is episode 1. Why do I need to see a preview of what's happened before? And they basically summarize the prequel trilogy into about 2 minutes, showing you all the things you need to know to prime you for this series. And it was perfect. That's how the prequel trilogy should be watched. Here is a 2-minute summary of that 7
down
hours.
to 2 minutes. That's what it should be done.
They pared it down to 2 minutes, and it's great. It's like watching a sports highlight reel and just getting all the home runs. Like, this is all I want. I don't care about a guy, he committed 3 errors and the pitcher had a 110 pitch count. Like, I don't want to worry about any of that crap. Just show me the home runs. And so it gives you that at the beginning, and then bang, 2 1-hour episodes, you're off to the races. It's fantastic so far. If you are marginally interested in the Star Wars franchise, you have to watch this. You may actually want to wait until the whole series is over, and then you can just binge the whole thing in one sitting. But yeah, it was fantastic. These 2 episodes, if it's even half as good as these first 2 episodes, we're in for a real treat.
Nice.
So that was my week. What about you? What'd you do?
I have a couple things. So I started watching the documentary that you mentioned last week, the one by Judd Apatow on the life of George Carlin.
Oh, yes.
Oh my God, it's so good. So of course I'm watching with my wife. She just fell asleep. She's like, I don't want to watch this, so whatever. But I thought it was great. And I just watched like, I don't know, maybe even 45 minutes of the first one. And they're long. They're 2 hours each. But so it was all his early stuff and him starting out. But I think George Carlin is just fantastic. So I really like that so far. And then also I wanted to mention that I did some training over the last week, like some professional development stuff. I'm a college professor in the day. I don't podcast full time, believe it or not. It's hard to believe. I know.
No.
I know. So as a college professor, I've been doing some professional development, and they asked me for this 4-day training that I went to, this session. You're supposed to bring something that means something to you, something that you can bring and put it on this sort of communal table, and it's something that represents something that you like and a part of you or whatever. So of course I brought the Funko Fonzie.
Nice.
I thought you'd like that. So I brought Funko Fonzie. Yeah. So it was really nice.
Well, I know that's both the toy and the person mean something to you. So that's a good pick for you.
It was a good pick. And also I have this for you.
Here's your dad joke of the week.
This one's a little bit of a 1986 kind of related joke, and it's more of like a story joke than just my usual ask a question, do a punchline. Okay, so.
Okay.
Bear with me. A Gen Xer.
Are we going to have to censor this joke because it's from 1986? Is it going to be full of inappropriateness?
I don't know. I guess we'll find. We'll find out if it gets past the censors or not. Who knows?
Yeah. Okay.
Let's run through it and see. Okay. So. And appropriate for this podcast too, because all the different generations. A Gen Xer, a millennial, and a boomer go on a desert journey together, and they're each allowed to bring one thing to help them survive. The Gen Xer says, I brought food in case we get hungry. The millennial says, I brought water in case we get thirsty. And the boomer says, I brought a car door from my old 86 Buick. In case it gets hot, we can roll down the window. You know what? I was just thinking too. So I was just saying that. Didn't we just get an email the other day here at the office from the AARP saying that they were going to like feature us in their magazine in an upcoming thing?
Well, they're not going to feature us after they hear that joke. A little Canadian show called Schitt's Creek.
You can say Schitt's Creek, but you can't say.
Wow, you are really dating yourself here, bud.
Schitt's Creek is awesome as.
What are you talking about? Have you not seen Ryan Reynolds' film career?
Apparently, my son has no soul. You're not recording this, are you? No, never.
Like that's criminal.
I know. We basically have the same bone structure from the waist up, I presume.
Most people won't question it.
It's all ball bearings now.
So, Derek, we have had 6 pop culture fantasy drafts so far. And when we get together and do these, we each draft a team of 3 movies, 3 TV shows, 3 songs, and a personal pick for 10 picks overall. And then we send our lists off to our esteemed panel of judges, who then vote on their favorite list. And then we reveal the winner on the next show. So far, I'm up 4-2. I took home the drafts from 1981, 1982, 84, and 85. And Derek, you were declared the winner of 1980 and 1989. You bookended. You began and finished the decade really, really well. So this time out, we're going to be drafting a team from 1986. And as we normally do, we will have a coin flip. So I'm going to flip the coin, and I'm going to let you call it, as I always do, to determine who goes first. Because once a person goes in this draft and picks something, it's off the board. So picking first is important. So would you like heads or would you like tails? Derek, what do you call?
I'm going to call tails.
You got it. You get to go first. Tails is yours.
Wow.
All right. Way to go. Well, so you get the first pick. And again, we can pick them in any order. The only thing we have to do is pick our personal pick last. So if you want to pick a movie or a TV show or a song or whatever, so whatever you pick is going to be off the board. So you get to take it away. So what would you like to do?
Yeah, I remember at the start of the last episode, I did a whole thing about how, the first pick is so important and all that. This year is probably the first draft we've done where I feel that all 3 categories have such strong contenders at the top of the list that whether you pick first or second, I don't think is going to be as advantageous this time around as it's been in some of the other ones, right? There isn't just that single one. If you get E.T. or Back to the Future, you have it locked. Now, that's not to say that there aren't a couple of strong picks, but I didn't feel that was the case in this one. But I am going to do the predictable thing. I'm going to start with movies. I'm going to pick the number 1 movie from the box office from that year. I'm going to go with Top Gun.
Yeah, and that's really going to help you, too, because the new one's out, right? And it's like this big sensation.
Exactly. I'm hoping there's a little recency bias there. And I think a lot of people are revisiting the old Top Gun before they go and see the new Top Gun. So I think that will help me as well. In fact, I'm going to see the new Top Gun tomorrow, so I'll be able to talk about it on our next show. So that's my number 1 pick. I don't think that's going to come as a surprise to anybody.
Mm-hmm. No, that's definitely a good pick. Like I say, especially with that new Maverick one coming out. My wife said, you want to know something really interesting? Because, I'm like the 80s guy. I've never seen Top Gun, the original. I've seen parts of it. I remember his friend or whatever, I think it was played by Anthony Edwards, he dies in it. Spoiler alert, the movie's 40.
I was gonna say, hey, spoilers from a movie from
I remember that, and I remember Val
ago.
Kilmer was in, he was a bad guy, so I've seen parts of it, and for some reason I remember that he flew really low and kind of buzzed over the base at one point or something, and that made the captain mad or something like that. But other than that, I don't really think I've seen the whole thing. I was never really into it, so go figure. Okay, so
I think you just stayed away. I think you stayed away from it because it was a Tony Scott movie, and you just seem to have this affinity for not watching anything directed by Tony Scott.
No, you make me watch some Tony Scott movies, and I like some of them. I thought they were pretty good.
Well, hey, spoiler alert, we may have to get you to watch this one, but
so
anyway, what's your pick, Al?
I was around back in 1986, as you know, and yes, you're right. Top Gun was the number 1 movie at the box office. And it was a bit of a sensation. It was pretty popular, jets and stuff like that, and people liked it. But for me, as a pop culture phenomenon, there was the movie that actually finished second at the box office that year. I'm going to go with that, and that's Crocodile Dundee. So if you go back to 1986, Crocodile Dundee was pervasive. Like it was everywhere. And it was so popular, in fact, that Foster's beer had this like massive push in North America. Like people, like Foster's beer was available everywhere. They were advertising it and people were drinking it, all because of Crocodile Dundee, because it was Australian and like Australia was the whole thing. And the movie's like quite, it was on cable a little while ago. I want to say about like 2 months ago. And I remember saying to my wife, "Oh, Crocodile Dundee is on. I want to watch it." And I put it on. And I remember it didn't have a very strong climax to the film. It didn't have a great ending, I remember.
Oh, it's got that great scene in the subway.
In the subway, but before that, there was no, like, it was just like him fighting a couple guys in the alley, and I was like, oh, it was a little bit weak. But overall, like, it's that typical fish out of water story, and I like how they start, you know, by showing you him, and then there's also a lot going on in the movie where it's like, I almost felt like at times, like, is he kind of a fraud? Like, how is, like, what's going on here, like, with this whole thing? But no, it was really, really good, really entertaining, great lead role with Paul Hogan and stuff. So, and it was like, it was everywhere in 1986. So as much as Top Gun was the number one film, Crocodile Dundee only was $2 million behind it, with $174 million at the box office. So I'm going to go with Crocodile Dundee. So that's my pick. So we each have a movie off the board. Yeah. So over to you. Where do you want to go, my friend?
Yeah, I figured you were gonna do that. I'm gonna jump to TV. Although TV has a pretty deep bench, I think there's a couple that are standout 1980s picks. So I'm gonna go with Alf.
Yeah, I think
what's more 80s than the alien puppet? He speaking of cultural phenomenons, like he was a huge deal. He ended up, it appealed to adults because it was a decent sitcom. It appealed to children because the alien was a little puppet. They sold toys. They made him into a cartoon. They made him into a comic book. I seem to remember they used him in various advertising campaigns. He was the it thing in 1986, and the show ran for 4 seasons. And I mean, when you say Alf, it immediately people are like, oh, that show from the 80s. So I got to pick it on name recognition alone. First movie pick for me, my first TV pick, my second overall pick. I'm going with Alf.
I like that one. I think that's a good one. That would have been my number one TV pick as well. And it's just the whole, again, it was a pop culture phenomenon. Like, it was a big thing. Okay. I think I'm going to stick with movies here, and I'm going to go with a movie that I just think will resonate with the judges, because when we think of 1986, obviously there's a lot of nostalgia that's going on, and this movie was not the most popular movie at the box office that year, that's for sure. It was not this huge runaway hit, but I think over time it's endured so much that people just love it and they feel good about it, and that's Ferris Bueller's Day Off.
Oh. Chris, I was debating between Ferris Bueller's Day Off and Alf. Those were my two options, and I went with Alf. So that's a good pick. You stole it right out. I was coming to that next if you had left it on the board.
I feel like, I mean, you got Top Gun, and then I think you got the best TV show. So I really felt I needed to kind of bolster things by having two top tier movies in there. And like I say, it wasn't the most popular movie, but I think over time when you look back, like, it's just so good in so many ways.
Yeah.
So
it's very strong.
I think that's a good pick. So, okay, over to you.
All right. I'm going to jump to music then.
You and your music. You always get me with that.
Yeah. So my TV list has 10, my movie list has 15, and my song list once again has like 25. And narrowing it down to just like 6 or 7 was really difficult. But I'm going to go with a song that was a big hit in '86. It's it's got staying power. It's from one of the best artists that has the most longevity since the '80s, Bon Jovi. I'm going with "Living on a Prayer."
Yeah, that's a good one. That's a good one. I definitely would have gone with that one myself as the next pick, and I agree with you. It wasn't the most popular song of the year, but
no, it wasn't the number one, but it's anytime you're listening to a classic station, a pop station, an 80s station, this song, I probably hear this song 5 or 6 times a week now, and I probably have heard it 5 or 6 times a week every week since it was released in '86. This song is, I don't want to say it's a perfect song, but it resonates with everyone. That's my pick. Where are you going? So I got one of each now. Where are you going? You got 2 movies.
Well, I'm thinking about
wrap up the.
I could go with I don't want to do that because then it gives you free reign on that category. I feel like it's got to be a TV show or a song. I'm just not sure which way I want to go here. I think what I might do is go to TV. And I'm going to go with one again that I think at the time it wasn't the most popular TV show, I don't think. But again, it's really endured. And that's Perfect Strangers. I'm going to go with that one.
Nice.
I think that one resonates. You know, people Balky and, you know, Cousin Larry and all that kind of stuff. And, and when I think of Perfect Strangers, like it just sort of screams the 80s for me, you know. So I think Perfect Strangers is a good pick for my TV pick there. So I'm going to go with that because there is still a lot of songs. So, all right.
There are. Yeah. If you had asked me for advice and I was in the giving mood, I would have said go with TV because the list is shorter. And sort of I'm going to do the exact opposite of that right now. Even though my song list is my deepest list, my 1 and 2 were pretty solid and I want it. So my number 2 music I'm going to right now is the Beastie Boys. You Gotta Fight for Your Right to Partay.
Yeah, that's definitely a good pick. And that was actually probably going to be my next pick here on the board, which is something you and I don't always do. We tend to keep out of each other's way.
Yeah.
But almost every pick here is like, oh, I was going to take that one next. And then, you know, you take one like, I was going to take that one next. So that's a good one. I like that one. I still think I can come back in that category and do okay. So I think agree. What I'm going to do is I do need to get a song. That's for sure. I just don't know which one I want. I got a couple that I think scream the 80s. What do I want to do? I'm going to do that. I think I'm going to go with, it's between 2 as my number 1 song here. I think I'll go with Walk This Way, Run DMC. And it
was my very next pick. Number 3 song I wanted. Yeah. No, that's
so again, we're doing that kind of thing where
we're obviously doing this. We're reading from the same scouting magazine.
Yeah, no kidding. I think, you know, again, the song originally came out, you know, back in the 70s, but this is a defining song of the 80s. It really is. And I think if you went back and made a list of all the songs from the 80s that kind of meant something and were important, this one jumps out. So I think for 1986, I'm cool with it representing my first pick from the 80s. So
that's a good pickup.
Okay.
All right. I'm going to jump back to TV.
Okay.
I'm going to go over the show that was not as popular as you might have expected in the 80s. It was a kids show, so it resonated with children, but over the years it has become a cult classic, and that is Pee-wee's Playhouse.
Yeah. Again, we are just totally stealing each other's picks. Pee-wee's Playhouse is a great pick. I think that's a great pick. And it was a short-lived show, but it had a real niche audience at the time too.
Well, it ran 5 seasons, so I mean, although I think the last couple seasons were pretty short.
Yeah.
And unfortunately, the actor Paul Rubens, who plays Pee Wee Herman, got into some trouble in an adult movie theater and was canceled, and then has, you know, remarkably been able to sort of come back a little bit over the years. But Pee Wee's Playhouse is one of those things that in the moment people were certainly not open about watching or enjoying it if they were, you know, over a certain age, if you were a teenager or a young adult. But I think that over time, people have rediscovered it as it became available on video and on DVD and on streaming. And I think it's one of these ones that now, like, you know, the college kids will find and they'll watch it when they're really high or really drunk, and they'll really enjoy it. I mean, it's actually a pretty good quality show. You watch it, it was very edgy considering that it was a kids show at the time, and it's got a lot of actors were doing very small guest parts because they were just starting out that ended up becoming like huge megastars and very, very recognizable people. So like I want to say it was
Lawrence Fishburne.
Lawrence Fishburne, was in it, and I'm sorry, I'm blanking on her name. The woman who was the captain in Law and Order for like a decade, she was in this as well. Anyway, Pee-wee's Playhouse, I'm glad I got it. I had Alf as my number 1 and Pee-wee's as my number 2, and I got them both, so I'm very happy about that. So where are you going to next?
Is that Asa Pathamurkason? She was in that?
That's the one. That's her. Yeah. I think she was the mail lady, the letter carrier.
Yeah. Oh, wow. That's so cool. I didn't even know that. I think I need to go back to songs. And I know you've got lots and lots of songs, and I usually kind of forego this category, but I think I'm going to go with this song because in 1986, this was important because 2 years before, this band had this massive album, and they were all over the place, and then they made this massive change. They changed their lead singer. You know, I'm talking about Van Halen, obviously. They came out with 5150 in 1986. And they got rid of David Lee Roth, and they brought in Sammy Hagar. And so the song is Why Can't This Be Love by Van Halen. I'm going to go with that one as my second song.
So I'll be honest, on my very deep bench, I did not have anything by Van Halen, just because in 1986, I didn't personally remember the 5150 album being a thing compared to a lot of the other songs. And believe me, Van Halen is one of my all-time favorite bands. So when I was putting my list together, I don't want to say overlooked them, but when I saw it, I just went, nah, this isn't 1984. We're going to move on. So I think you might have sort of snuck one in there on me. Okay, sorry, that was your
a big song,
pick, right?
And remember back when we did our Van Halen songs episode? This was my favorite Van Halen song. Like I don't know, there's something about it that's just really catchy and I really like it. The fact that they were able to how the hell do you overcome David Lee Roth leaving the band? Well, they're kicking him out.
Yeah.
Like, how do you overcome that? Well, they did it, and they did it in spades. So that's what I'm going with.
All right. I only have one movie, so I got to go back to movies.
Yeah, that's probably a good idea.
And I've got I've got a lot of solid picks on the list here, but I'm just trying to think about what I need to do here. I think I'm going to go with a movie that I think if I left on the board, you wouldn't immediately take it, but I can't risk you taking it out from under me, and that's Aliens. James Cameron.
You would take that one. You love that movie. It was a big movie.
Yeah, it is. Right? It's a good movie. It's a great movie. I know. It's one of those ones that if it's on TV and I see it's on, I'll just watch this next part. And next thing you know, 2 hours of my life have passed, and I've enjoyed Aliens for the 35th time. So now I've got two of each. I got two TVs, two movies, and two TV show, 2 songs, 2 TV shows, and 2 movies.
And it was popular. It was in the top 5 at the box office. It took them $85 million. So I mean, like that's.
Well, and it spawned 2 more sequels and then 3 more sort of sequels from Ridley Scott. But it's a franchise that has endured. For better, for worse. Like, I mean, the Alien versus Predator movies were kind of crap, but it's never really gone away from pop culture.
So I'm going to go back to TV. You and I have taken some risks before when it comes to TV shows, because keep in mind the rules for this game when we do this draft.
Oh, I know exactly where you're going now. Yeah. Okay. Go on.
Is that it has to debut in the year that we're drafting. Now, we have struggled with shows like Jeopardy and things like that have been around for a long time, but they just happened to debut in that year. And I think you lost some votes when you picked Jeopardy in the one year that we did it, because it was like, well, we don't really identify that with 1982 or whatever.
Well, especially because it's still on the air.
Yeah, exactly.
I think we did. Wasn't Sesame Street Entertainment Tonight? Maybe was on one of the lists.
That was one of the ones you did. Too. I think it was like from '84 or something like that. But
it's a risk. But I think I know where you're going with this. And I think you're making a good pick.
Yeah, I think I'm willing to take the gamble here and roll the dice on this one, because I still think, even though this show endured, right up until the 2000s. It still is an 80s show to me, and that's the Oprah Winfrey Show.
Yeah.
So I'm going to go with
that. That was coming up on my list.
Yeah. So that's my second TV show. So now I've got 2 movies, 2 TV shows, and 2 songs, and so do you. All right. You have 2 of each too. So the ball's in your court, my friend. So where do you want to go with this on the draft next?
Well, I'm locking up movies right here, right now. Okay. I'm taking Stand By Me.
Oh, that's a good pick. I
was worried. I was worried you were going to nab it out from under me, but I'm like, because again, I have 2 action films. I needed something a little different, and Stand By Me was where I really. So my movie order of picks here was Top Gun, Ferris Bueller's Day Off, Aliens, and Stand By Me. And you nabbed Ferris Bueller, but I got the other 3, so I'm very pleased with how this played out. Mm-hmm. It does leave the movie category completely wide open for you, so you can avoid that. And you tell me where you want to go next. You want to do a song or a TV show?
I guess I feel like there's still so many songs left, and the songs that I'm kind of leaning toward, I don't think you would pick. So I'm not in danger of losing them or having you snipe them on me. So I think I got to go to TV shows. I just don't know what to do, because I mean, one of the big TV shows that started in '86, I never watched, and I feel like it's something that like my grandparents would have watched. So I don't really want to get into that one too much.
That was the next one on my list.
Yeah,
the next one on my list, dude.
I know. I don't know if I want to go there with it, but I also want to have a little bit of variety in here. I've got a comedy.
There's a couple little sort of sneak in TV show picks that I have on my list that I'm like, if things really go sideways, I can always jump in with that. But
I think do I go there? Yeah, what the hell? I'll just jump in and I'll take it. I'm going to go with Matlock.
Yeah. Yeah, that was the next one on my list.
Again, I think of it like my grandparents would watch it, but I think when you think back to 1986, now it's been 40 years, so no matter who is judging this, they're going to still think it's their grandparents watching it, and in some cases, that's the case. So I mean, it was a pretty good show, like I watched it from time to time just to see what it was all about because it was pretty popular.
It was a typical procedural. It was in the same vein as Murder, She Wrote. It's like, at the end of the week, at the end of the episode, they're going to wrap it up. Matlock's always going to win the case. The person's always going to get off.
He always won his cases, didn't he?
Yeah, never lost a case.
And the fact that it was Andy Griffith, who was a TV icon.
Yeah.
From the early days of TV from the 60s. So yeah, I think that's the way to go. There was a couple other ones I liked, but I'm going to go with that one. Just
one of the things I liked about Matlock was to your point, Andy Griffith was like one of the first TV stars, like from way back when TV first started. And this was a way to allow him to end his career with dignity, right? Like he was playing this character who was very similar to the character he had played 40 or 50 years earlier. He was that Southern gentleman who always treated people nice, and he was the lawyer who always found the way to win the case. Like it was a very good, clean, and wholesome. It's they literally show reruns of Matlock on the religious channel. Like it's that good natured. And now I mean I'm sure there was some behind the scenes stuff that we never were privy to, but I'd like to think that Andy Griffith was a decent guy, and if he's anything like the characters he played on TV, I'm sure he was.
Yeah. All right. It was also like the other thing is that even though he was older at the time when he did it, he was still very sharp and very smart.
Yes.
And so I think it portrayed sort of senior citizens in a good light, and it really kind of built on what Perry Mason was doing. So yeah, I think it's I like that pick. Okay, over to you, my friend. What do you got?
Well, I'm gonna go to songs simply because we're gonna. There's no point in me picking a TV show because you've already got yours and I've already done my movies. Mm-hmm. The real decision I've got to make here is the next song on my list is "Danger Zone" by Kenny Loggins, but I have the Top Gun movie.
Yeah,
and I really just don't know if the double dip is worth it, and if I leave it, I don't know if you're going to take it. I don't and so because we ran into this with the year the Miami Vice draft, there was the Miami Vice theme was on the board, and with Beverly Hills Cop, Axel F was on it. So it's really I want to say what was it? The one year that we did, I picked Rocky 3 and I picked Eye of the Tiger, and I won the draft. So yeah. I mean, Danger Zone's a pretty iconic song in and of itself, but I have a couple other what I feel are pretty strong movie or song picks here. Oh, this is a real tough one. I think I'm gonna step away from the Danger Zone, and if you want to take it, you can take it. I'm gonna go with, as I have on numerous drafts, I'm gonna go with a Madonna song. I'm going with "Papa Don't Preach."
Mm-hmm. Yep, that came out that year, so that was a good one.
It's actually not in my top 6 ranked songs, but just looking at what I have on my list already, I was like, I think that was my next pick here. So we'll go with that. For better, for worse, Papa Don't Preach. And so let me ask you then. You don't have to go to songs next, but I left Danger Zone on the table. Are you taking it?
No.
Okay. Then now I don't feel bad.
No, I'm not going to take that one. I need a movie and I need a song. And I can go to either one because it doesn't matter.
And I've wrapped up both of those lists. Open. So there's,
I think I need, this is tough because on one hand, I've got I'm going to go with Platoon. I'll take Platoon as my movie.
You are? Okay.
Yep. I'll take Platoon. Yeah. Got to do it.
Okay.
Because, I've got Crocodile Dundee and Ferris Bueller's Day Off, which are 2 comedies. And then I want to balance it off with a little bit of gravitas there. So I think Platoon will do that. I was really leaning toward Pretty in Pink, but I thought 3 comedies. I'm like, I don't know if that'll play as well. So I'll balance it off. I agree. I'll go with Platoon. It is still, you can say whatever you want. It's Oliver Stone's best film. It's a morality tale. I love the fact that it is almost like the whole movie, watching it, is like watching Charlie Sheen's character have a devil on one shoulder and the angel on the other shoulder, playing and almost both competing for kind of his loyalty and kind of what he's going to do. And you've got those two sergeants that play those roles. One is evil, one is good, and they're like sort of competing for his soul. There's so much going on in that movie, and it's about competing for the soul of America too at the time. There's a lot going on thematically in that movie. It's a much better film than I think some people even remember. If you go back and watch it, you're like, oh man, there's so much going on. And Platoon. I'll go with that one. I like it.
Nice. All right. I need a TV show to round out my picks.
Yes.
My list, my last two TV shows were Matlock, which you picked, and the other one, which I'm about to pick, which is LA Law.
Yep. That's a good one.
Nothing says 80s like LA Law. So that is my 9th pick and my final TV pick.
It was a big critical success. I never watched an episode of it.
Show.
I remember my mom used to watch
I remember
it. My
watching
mom was like,
it.
LA Law is so good. Corbin Burnson, got started on there. And he obviously went on to do Major League, which we loved him in.
Yeah.
We reviewed that.
Jimmy Smits was in this, and he's had a fantastic career. I mean, there was a lot of very attractive people in this show. I remember watching it when it was on.
The guy, what's the guy's name? Yep. It escapes me now. He was in Clash of the Titans.
And Susan Day, who had come from the show Family.
Partridge Family.
I think was that it? Partridge Family?
Yeah, she was from the Partridge Family.
Yeah, they were the main two
Harry Hamlin couple. Was the guy I'm thinking of.
Harold Hamlin.
What
did I say? Yeah, that's the guy. Sorry, I think I said Mark Hamlin.
Yeah.
I may say Mark Harmon.
You said Mark Harmon. I think it's Harry Hamlin. He was the guy.
Yes. Sorry.
Yep.
And unfortunately that's one of those shows that I have not been able to find on the streamers that I want to revisit now that I'm much older, because I remember watching them when they came out, but I was like a teenager, and a lot of the stuff was like, over my head because I didn't have the worldly experience to understand what the hell was going on. But in any case, Chris, what do you need? You need a song?
I need a song, and I've got 3 different ways to go here, and I'm not really sure what to do. So on one hand, I could try to flip things around because you picked a Bon Jovi song, but there's another good Bon Jovi song out there.
Yep.
And that's You Give Love a Bad Name. I don't know if I
have them on the same line. Yep.
Living on a Prayer is a better song of the two. I think if I picked You Give Love a Bad Name, I don't know if that would play well with the judges.
I don't know if it would cancel out the picks, but it would certainly make it for a more interesting discussion.
I also like Bizarre Love Triangle. I think that is one of the greatest songs out of the 80s period.
Good pick.
And the other one I was leaning toward was a Canadian song by Glass Tire called Don't Forget Me When I'm Gone, which... Again, I
got that on my list.
I don't know how much the judges, especially some of our judges are American, they would even know that song. I don't know if that was a popular song in the States or not. I think I played it for Yancey one time, and he was like, I've never heard this song. But it's such a, to me, like, if I was to make my top 5 80s songs, that would make it. Like, it's just such a great 80s song. It's so good.
It's a good song, but... Yeah, but you're trying to win the draft. Honestly, I think from a judge's point of view, that's not going to get you the points you need.
Exactly, and that's why I don't
take it, Chris. It's a great song.
No, I think I'm going to go with Bizarre Love Triangle. I mean, we did a thing where it was like our top 5 favorite songs a couple of years ago, and this one was one of mine. So, I mean, I'm going to go with that one. Bizarre Love Triangle is it for sure. Okay.
So a couple of the other songs, I got a personal pick, which I'm going to get to in a minute. A couple of the other songs I had on my short list that I didn't pick, I picked Madonna instead. I was considering The Final Countdown by Europe, Danger Zone, Kenny Loggins already mentioned, and Living in America by James Brown.
Oh yeah, that was pretty popular too, wasn't it at the time?
Yeah.
A couple other ones that I was thinking of too was Walk Like an Egyptian.
Yeah.
That one was really popular.
It was number 1 song in 1987, but the album came out in 86, so it qualifies.
Right. And Sledgehammer, I thought was really a good one too, because the video was so popular too. But I still think New Order is the way to go there, so I'm happy with that. Well, okay, so over to you to do a personal pick.
So that's a good segue then. You talked about Sledgehammer. So for my personal pick, this is a no-brainer for me. I have to go with the song In Your Eyes by Peter Gabriel because it was my wedding song. It's a great song. It's my wife's all-time favorite song. It was my wedding song. If I don't have this on my list, I'm going to be sleeping on the couch for a month.
And it's also the song. It's also the song that John Cusack played, and when he held up the boombox over his head, right? Yeah, didn't say anything. Yep. So that's definitely a good one. Okay, I think I'm going to go with a movie. I just can't decide.
I figured you would. Yeah.
I can't decide which one.
I know exactly what movie you're going to.
I was thinking about doing One Crazy Summer.
I know. I figured you were going to go there, but anyway, it's your pick. There's a lot of movies on here that I'm like, Chris could pick any of these as his personal pick.
But I think I'm going to go a little bit of a different way, and I'm going to go with Big Trouble in Little China.
Good pick.
I really do like that movie a lot too, and so I think that's the way to go. And it's kind of endured over the years, and yes. I think it might resonate with the judges. So I'm happy.
I think you're absolutely right. And had I not had the extreme personal connection to the Peter Gabriel song, I definitely would have picked a movie as my personal pick, and that would definitely have been on the short list. But no. I'm happy with what I've got. I think we both have very strong lists because I think there were some very strong picks this time around. I think it's going to be tough for these judges.
It'll be tough
to pick a winner.
We will send it off to our judges and see what they think. We want to do a quick review here for you. Want me to run it down?
Yes. You read them.
So our movies. So I picked Crocodile Dundee, Ferris Bueller's Day Off, and Platoon. And your three movies were Top Gun, Aliens, and Stand By Me. TV shows, I went with Perfect Strangers, The Oprah Winfrey Show, and Matlock. And your TV shows were Alf, Pee-wee's Playhouse, and L.A. Law. And then when it comes to songs, I went with Walk This Way from Run DMC and Aerosmith, Why Can't This Be Love, Van Halen, and Bizarre Love Triangle from New Order. And your songs were Living on a Prayer, Bon Jovi, You Gotta Fight for Your Right to Party, Beastie Boys, and Papa Don't Preach, Madonna. Personal pick, I went with Big Trouble in Little China, the movie, and you went with a song, and that was Peter Gabriel's In Your Eyes.
Well, I got news for you, Chris. Yep. Knowing that my wife is one of the judges, there's no chance that my list will not be her vote simply because our wedding song is on this list. So
this is true. So again, you've got
no matter what the final score is going. No matter what the final score is, I'm getting one vote out of this. So.
I just want to mention, going into these drafts, I've always I'm behind the eight ball because 5 of the judges are either your wife or personal friends of yours, but it's all good. It's all good. So, she'll definitely pick your list with that on there.
Yeah, and it's got Aliens on here too, which is one of her all-time favorite movies. I have her vote locked with this. But
I remember she hated the fact that I didn't like that movie too, so she's definitely voting against.
She keeps telling me to unfriend you every time I remind her that you didn't like that movie. Just for full transparency, I never talked to her about my thought process on the lists. I don't share any of my lists prior to doing the draft, and the first 4 movie drafts the first 4 pop culture drafts we did, she voted for you. Because after she votes, she tells me which team she voted for, not even knowing whose is whose. She goes, I voted for one with this movie. I'm like, well, that was Chris. So if people are like, his wife's on there, he's getting the vote every time. No. She has voted for your list more than my list so far.
That's probably going to change this week, though. Let's be honest.
I think that, I think it's safe for me to say I have her vote this time around.
Yeah, you probably do. All right. So what do you say? We've wrapped up our draft. Like I say, I'm going to send these off to our judges. Next time when we come back, we'll review the list again. We'll figure out who the judges picked, and we'll announce a winner. But for right now, what do you say that we have some
fun with Caveman?
All right, my friend. One of the things we like to do around here is we like to play a little bit of a game, and so I was thinking about playing this game with you, and it goes a little bit like this. By the way, I mentioned that I did that training this past week. One of the things I did was I was teaching people how to play the drums. We did a little kind of drum thing. And one of the participants came up to me and they were like, wow, you're really musical. You mentioned that you have a podcast. Do you incorporate music into your podcast? I'm like, yeah, I sing really, really bad. That's what I do.
On purpose.
Purposefully, it's kind of like a thing that I do. I sing really, really bad. So, and I definitely sang bad there. So I'm going to be giving you some movie quotes. Okay, Derek, obviously. Okay. And you just got to guess the movie that they come from. And then bonus marks, as always, if you can guess the character that said the quote from the movie. Okay? And of course, the common thread here is what's that?
They're all from 1986?
1986. So easy to do.
Okay.
right?
Yeah.
Nice and easy.
I got my movie list in front of me, so that might help me a little bit.
Ah, man, you're going to kill it. Okay. Get away from her, you bitch.
Well, that's from Aliens, and it was Ripley.
I'm sorry, it was Ripley? Is that what you said?
It was Ellen Ripley from the movie Aliens.
Yes. Very good. Okay. Pardon my French, but Cameron is so tight. If you stuck a lump of coal up his ass, in 2 weeks, you'd have a diamond.
Yeah, that is Ferris Bueller from Ferris Bueller's Day Off.
Very good. Okay.
I love that movie. It's such a good movie.
You can be my wingman anytime.
Well, it's definitely from Top Gun.
It is a little bit more difficult if you can try and guess the character.
I'm not sure if this is Iceman or Maverick. I think it was Iceman that said that.
Very good. It was Iceman. All right.
Nice.
I never had any friends later on like the ones I had when I was 12. Jesus does anyone.
Yeah, that was Stand By Me, and that was the Richard Dreyfuss. That was the older Gordy LaChance.
And he was the adult writer, played by Richard Dreyfuss.
Yep.
Very good. Okay. Yep. I'm a mean green mother from outer space, and I'm bad.
Wow. I got to think that's a movie I've never seen before because I have no idea what that's from.
The character actually sang it. I'm a mean green mother from outer space, and I'm bad. Does that help?
Sure.
Anyway? No?
Not at all.
It's from The Little Shop of Horrors. It was Audrey 2, the plant, singing.
Oh.
Okay. No. All right. Here, this is a little bit of a long one, but I know you're going to get it. Please try to understand. I don't have the background for this. I mean, the high school I went to, they asked a kid to prove the law of gravity. He threw the teacher out the window.
Yeah. It's from one of my guilty pleasure movies. Back to School. And
yes, and the character, of course,
It was Rodney Dangerfield, Thornton Mellon.
Very good. Okay. Somebody once wrote, hell is the impossibility of reason. That's what this place feels like. Hell.
Well, that sounds so grim. It's got to be a war movie, so I know Platoon's on the list. I'm going to say Platoon.
Yes, it was. Any attempt at the character?
I only ever saw the movie once. I didn't really care for it, so I don't know any of the characters' names. So got to pass on that part.
It was Charlie Sheen's character that said that, so it's all good.
Yeah, but
okay.
I have no idea what his name is.
Here's one. Aborigines don't own the land. They belong to it. It's like their mother.
Oh, it's got to be Crocodile Dundee.
Of course. And who said it, of course, was?
Yeah, it's got to be Mick Dundee.
All right. No one laughs at a master of quack foo.
Wow. That does not sound familiar at all. Quack foo. It's got to be a kid's movie, or I don't know. I have no idea.
It's from Howard the Duck. Howard said that. Quack foo.
Oh, that makes perfect sense. Of course it does. Yeah.
All right. His name is Blaine. That's a major appliance, not a name.
It's got to be from Pretty in Pink.
It was. Any idea who said that? Do you remember?
I'm going to guess that it's Ducky.
Yeah. Okay, last one. This was a back and forth. So one character says, I'm a prize fighter. Do you know much about boxing? And she says, no. And he says, I'm the heavyweight champion of the world.
Wow.
I love
a good line.
It was. It was a great movie.
Beats me. I don't. It doesn't sound familiar. I don't know.
Bernie Litko, Jim Belushi's character, said that in About Last Night. About Last Night.
Okay.
Love that movie.
It's a good line. That's a good line.
Oh, it is. He meets her in a bar. He's like, I'm a prize fighter. You know much about the fight game? She's like, no. I'm the heavyweight champion of the world. So I don't know. It's really good.
Nice.
Okay.
Nice.
So, like I said, our fantasy draft lists are going to be sent off to our esteemed panel of judges, my friend, and they will vote, and next time we will announce the winner. And of course, whoever wins gets possession of the Funko Fonzie trophy. So we're going to be doing that. So, but before we say goodbye, next time we come back, we have to watch a movie from 1986. So, Derek, we usually throw things over to you. So, what movie would you like us to watch and come back and review the next time that we get together again? Do you have something queued up for me?
Yeah, so I'm going to pick a movie from 1986 that I haven't seen since 1986, but I remember when I saw it, I really enjoyed it. And it is Big Trouble in Little China, which was your personal pick.
Ooh, you have not seen that since 1986?
I have not seen it since 86. And I'm a big fan of Kurt Russell, and I'm a big fan of John Carpenter.
You like Carpenter,
and we did Escape from New York as a movie review after the 1981 draft. We haven't done The Thing as a movie review, but it is definitely one of my favorites. I love it. Like when Carpenter and Kurt Russell get together, like they know how to make a movie. And this is a big cult fan favorite. I've heard so many good things about it as people have discovered it and rediscovered it in the last decade or so. And I just kind of hope it holds up and meets those expectations because I haven't seen it since 86. It's
Do you
available
remember much about it?
On Disney Plus.
Do you remember?
Nothing.
Nothing?
I remember the cast. That's it. I don't remember. His character's name is Jack Burton. That's all I remember. So I'm going to be going into this completely blind, having no recollection of any of it. So I'm really, really hoping for a good movie watching experience this week.
If you remember, I did not like Escape from New York. Didn't think it was very good. But I liked this movie a lot. And his character, he is just perfectly cast in this movie. And it's a bit of a B movie, but it's an enjoyable one. And I remember watching it over and over again on the movie channel. And I recorded it on my VCR. And I had a VHS copy of this, and I watched it over and over again back in the day. It was good. I haven't seen it in a while, but I'm really looking forward to going back and watching it. It was my personal pick, so this is going to be a good one. And then I get to come back the week after that with my own pick. So I feel like I'm getting I get to double dip here. You know,
yeah, no kidding.
Well, so that's great. I'm happy with
unfortunately, we're not going to have a show next week because I'm taking a little break. I'm taking a vacation. But when we come back in 2 weeks, we will
come back in 2 weeks.
Big Trouble in Little China.
And we will review Big Trouble in Little China. And then after that, I'm going to take a little bit of a vacation as well. I'm going to go away for my anniversary. So, the summertime is always sort of sporadic for us because we got lots of things on the go. But next time out, we will definitely watch Big Trouble in Little China and we will review it. That's going to be really fun to go back and watch that one. So until next time, this is Chris McBride. On behalf of myself and, of course, for Derek Myers, I want to say thanks for listening to Pop Goes Your World, the pop culture podcast for the generations.
Thanks for listening to Pop Goes Your World. You can contact Chris and Derek at popgoesyourworld.com. Please take a minute and review the podcast on iTunes or wherever you download and listen to the show.